Hi everyone, today I want to show you how to make this super cozy double thickness beanie on a circular knitting machine. You're going to need some Aran weight variegated yarn. This is Cedar Jewel Spun in Nordic Noir. You're going to need some contrasting colour Aran weight yarn. I'm using black. Just any Aran weight yarn will do, whichever matches your pattern that you want to do. And you're going to need a faux fur pom-pom and a button attachment. My pom-poms that I buy come with them already. So without further ado, let's get started. So with your variegated yarn, what you want to do for my tension, so I can't hold it just steady through the machine with a slight tension on it, but nothing too tight. For me, I do 40 rows of the main variegated part of the beanie. So what you want to do is you want to cast on. I've got a video that shows you how to cast on if you don't already know how. And you want to cast on and knit 40 rows. So I'm going to cast on and knit 40 rows. And then I will meet you back just as we're coming to the end of row 40 to do our colour change. So now I'm on row 39 and I'm just coming up to my final few stitches. So I slow it right down as I come up. The stitches are numbered, so I slow it right down as I can see I'm approaching 46. And there we are, we're back at the beginning of the round. So what you now need to do is you need to cut your working yarn, leave a decent tail, open the little door and drop your yarn into the middle of your work. Then what you need to do is you need to get your colour that you're using for your liner and brim. In my case, I'm using black. Then what you want to do is open your door, again with a decent amount of tail, drop the yarn in and put it in the little hole and close the door. Then what is the most important thing when you colour change is when you crank onwards that you make sure that this yarn gets caught in, both the black and the colour. And then what I do is I just give the ends a little tug to pull them tight, and we'll tie them together later. Right, we've done 40 rows, and now for the liner and brim I do 75. So my tension, 105 rows is about right for a fitted beanie. It varies from person to person, so you need to find what your tension is for these particular yarns and what row count works for the size beanie that you want. If your tension is tighter, you're going to need more rows. If your tension is looser, you're going to need less rows. So I'm going to go away, I'm going to knit 75 more rows until I get to 105 rows, and then I'll meet you back for the cast off. What I am just going to show you now is how I tie the ends together. So I do a few rows before I tie the ends, and then what I do is I literally, because I tidy these up later, I pop just a quick knot in and tighten it up just to hold the stitches together, and then I finish those off once I've cast off the beanie tube and I am doing my cinching together. I just find it easier to do it like that because I can make sure that all my stitches on the outside are neat. Now I'm just going to carry on, and I will then meet you back at 105 rows. So when you get to the last row, you take the yarn out. And what you want to do is you want to leave a decent tail, because we're going to use the tail to sew in the ends. So a good rule of thumb is to guide the yarn around the machine, and as long as you've got a machine's circumference of yarn, that should be plenty. So then you want to cut your end. I know that black yarn isn't the best for this, but I love the effect that the black has with this particular beanie. So cut your end, close your door because otherwise the stitches grumble, and then just crank on until the white needle goes in, because that secures that final stitch. Now what I'm going to try and do is get a better angle so you can see the cast off nicely, because it's black yarn, it's not easy to see. So give me 2 seconds to adjust the camera and I will be back. So what you want to do is you want to thread a needle with the end of yarn that you've just cut off, so you're finished knitting. You can use the one that came with the machine. Mine got squashed, so I prefer to use metal ones. There are ones that you can get that have like a cranked tip. They're even better, but I don't own one of those at the moment, but I'm definitely going to be getting one. So some people crank all the way around and have the stitches all ready to be picked up with the needle. I don't do that because whenever I do that, I can guarantee you that I'm going to drop a stitch. So I like to take it a little bit slower, but it means that I'm less likely to get dropped stitches. If you're struggling to see with the black, I will do another video, or have done another video, showing the cast off in a bright colour so you can see the stitches a bit better. But what you want to do is you want to crank slowly until this needle goes in. Can you see it's disappeared? And then what you want to do is you want to get your needle underneath that stitch, thread it through, and then you've taken it safely off the machine. And then you crank round each stitch and do the same. And as you go round, you will start to see your work coming off the loom. And this is the best method I've found for casting off. I like it because my stitches are always secure on the machine until I'm ready to take them off. So I'm going to carry on doing this and I'll meet you back at the end. Right, so this is the last stitch coming off the loom now, and you can see that I pulled it away. My work has come off the loom, or the machine, nicely, so I can now lift this and take it away. Once your work's off the loom, this is my favourite bit of all. So you've got your tube, it doesn't look anything special at the minute, and you pull and smooth it out, and suddenly this rather ugly tube, something a little bit magic happens. And then what you can do is find your end and pull. My needle's still on here somewhere. The black yarn is making it difficult for me to show you, but you pull. It's all curled, and what you want to try and do is get it to curl inwards rather than outwards, and you just pull, not too tight, just enough to tidy those ends up. This you might be able to see a little bit better. So we find the end and we pull, and I tend to just organise it as it cinches it. So what I do next is I turn my tube inside out to find where I joined the new colour. So what we do here is we find our ends, and I just give them a nice tug to tighten, and I do 3 knots just to make sure they're super secure, and then I leave about a 5 centimetre tail when I cut the ends off, just to make them that little bit more secure. Then turn your work back to the right side, and now for cinching I like to have the right side of my beanie on the inside of the cinch. So the easiest way to do it is to put your hand all the way inside the tube, grab your end and pull. You want to pull it all the way together, and then find the end And what you need to do is you need to line up the first stitch, and the black is awful to see, with the last stitch. You can barely see it, but there is your last stitch. And what you're going to do when you weave is you want to sandwich each stitch in between each other. This is the best method that I have found for cinching together a double brim beanie, a double thickness beanie. It gives me the neatest outcome. If you check my channel, there is another video that shows you how to close a beanie using colours that are a bit more easy on the eye. So what you want to do is you take your first stitch from the inside and then come back, and it's, I can't show you, you can see that you've got stitches on the cast on edge. So this is the cast on yarn and this is the first stitch, and you're going to and fro with the black stitches and the coloured stitches to kind of sandwich them all together. So the first view can be a little bit tough to see because the yarn tends to want to slide in on itself and it hides the first stitches. I tend to find it's the cast on edge that does that more rather than the finishing off edge. I'm not sure why, maybe just the way that it's been hanging on the machine as it's been going through. So the last one was black, the next one is colour. So I'm going to go away and sew this together, and then I'll come and show you how I cinch it together and how I add a pom-pom. So I'm just cinching off the last few stitches, and actually if you see, you can see the effect that it does when you sandwich those stitches in together. So I've literally sewn the black yarn zigzagging through these stitches. I'll just show you again the last few. So I'm going in the black, in the purple, okay, so I'm at the end now. So now that you're at the end, it's time to cinch it together. So what it always pays you to remember is that this black yarn goes twice around the beanie, because we cast off and then we've gone through again zigzagging our stitches together. So the black one can sometimes feel like it's tightened all the way, but it hasn't, and that's where you'll end up with saggy bits of yarn hanging out of your beanie, or you won't be able to get it as tight as you think you should be. So what I like to try and do is I start cinching in turn, and sometimes I open it back up again, and then what I do when I want to get the black tight is I put my 3 fingers on the inside of the beanie and then pull, and you will be able to feel when this end has also gone tight. And what you want to do is you want to check in these folds that develop that you're not getting any sticky out bits of yarn, because sometimes the running yarn through the stitches can hide in there. So you want to pull, take it in turns with the coloured yarn and with the brim colour yarn, and then also check your right side to make sure that you're pulling everything tight together. And literally you just want to keep pulling until you are sure that all of the yarn is gathered through, that double round of the liner and the brim yarn has come all the way through, and you're not going to end up with any sticky out bits, which I'm pretty sure that this has now. So I'm now really happy with how this is cinched closed. So I'm going to trim my ends, and then I'm going to tie 2 or 3 tight knots And then because these ends are hidden underneath a pom-pom button, I just trim them off really close to the knot. And there we have a beanie, and I'm going to show you how to add a pom-pom and finish it all off. So now my beanie's all cinched together and tied up tight closed, I like to add a faux fur pom-pom to the top of mine. You can add a traditional pom-pom if you like, but personally I like to use a faux fur pom-pom, and I attach them using strings and a button that the pom-pom seller gives me. I find it the best way because it means that I can remove the pom-pom if I need to spot wash the hat, and it's just makes life much easier, and I don't have to fiddle with sewing a snap-on. So the way I attach my pom-pom is I thread the 2 strings from the pom-pom through a large-eyed tapestry needle. The bigger the eye the better. And then you want to find the middle of the hole where you cinched it closed, because there will always be a small hole, and thread your needle through and pull it tight. Now the easiest way I've found to make sure that I'm getting the pom-pom on nice and snug is to put my hat upside down and turn it inside out. So you can see here's where the strings come through. You can just see a peep of the purple from the other side there. And then it's super simple. You thread 1 thread from the pom-pom through each of the buttonholes. And then you want to tie a nice tight bow. I do a double bow just to make it more snug, because you don't want to be losing a pom-pom while you're out and about. So 1 bow, 2 bows, turn the beanie the correct way round, and there we have one finished faux brim beanie with a lovely faux fur pom-pom, ready to go and keep someone warm this winter. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you want to see more, let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!